Petals are fun. Problem is, whether you have just one or you have a whole pile of them, like in these pictures, they're a pain to set up and tear down every time you have a rehearsal or a gig. So today I'm going to, ooh, look at that cake. Today I'm going to show you how to make a pedal board quickly and inexpensively and all of the other lees. So let's get started. So for the purpose of this video, I took apart my lap steel board and we're just going to put it back together. First thing you should do is just lay out all your pedals on the floor and see how much space you're going to need. And then just kind of measure that space and get yourself a piece of plywood. You can get plywood pretty much any lumberyard or superstore type place. Usually a sheet of plywood will run you $11 or $12 and they'll cut it to size for you. So the plywood is cut to size. Now, if you feel like it, you go ahead and paint it, because painting stuff is fun. Now I'm going to show you how I keep the petals on the actual board. Right, so the next thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a roll of this stuff. I call it pipe strapping. You find it around the plumbing and heating, venting stuff at like Home Depot. A roll of this is about $10 again. So just unroll a little length and then cut it with your pliers to various different sizes. The most common size you're going to use is this one, the 2. And then what you do is you take, I usually do opposing corners, one screw off here, one screw off here, and then just jam the little 2-piece in between the rubber and the bottom screw, and it comes out looking kind of like this. And then you just screw it onto the pedal board. Some pedals will be kind of a bitch to get to stick onto the pedal board. So here's an example, a tube screamer. Just screws on the top. If you just screw it on the top, it ends up, the pedal board sits weird, it ends up peeling back. So what I recommend is get yourself a nice long length and just wrap it around like that and screw it down, and then use these 2 screws. Another thing you can do, for example, this pedal is a huge pain in the butt because that are hex screws there. Those are hex screws, and this is kind of a little too high. So what I end up doing is drilling a hole on either side of the pedal through the pedal board and then running zip ties and then tying it super tight. This way is good, but the problem is it's not as solid as screwing it down. A lot of people are going to say to use Velcro. Velcro is really good. Problem is, if you're touring and it's a super hot climate, the Velcro gets really gummy, and then when you go to pull the pedal off the pedal board, what ends up happening is you have just the glue that sticks to the pedal board, and then it's really gunky and gross, or it sticks to the actual pedal, which is again gunky and gross. So I recommend screwing that down. And lastly, here is a picture of a wah pedal. As you can see, I've just got 2 eyelets here. What I would recommend on a pedal that's heavy like this is doing all 4 corners. And what I did there is I just took the foot off and I put the eyelet in between the foot and the body. So once you've got these little eyelets on, put your pedals onto the piece of plywood, pre-wire them, make sure everything fits, start screwing them down. Here is an example of screws that you can use, number 8, and these are 3/8. One thing to keep in mind is not to get screws that are longer than your pedal board is thick, because you don't want the pointy end of the screws scratching up everything you put the pedal board down onto. So let's screw those pedals down. Okay, just gonna finish screwing the pedals onto the pedal board. There you go. Only thing left to do now is to add the power supply. So like the other things, I just usually do the eyelets here. Power supply goes right on top. Plug the power in. Then you're pretty much done. If you end up making yourself a pedal board that's a lot bigger than this and you want 2 levels type of thing, what I would suggest is just cut yourself a piece of wood about the size of the pedal, and then you can make your pedals different levels. So if this were farther back and I wanted it a bit higher, I just shim it like that. That pretty much completes your pedal board. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. One last thing I wanted to show you. Screwing these pedals on makes everything just a lot more rugged and a lot stronger. So much stronger, in fact, that you can pick up the entire pedal board by the pedals. Nothing's going to come off. It's going to be super secure. A lot better than the Velcro. Do yourself a favor. Don't use the Velcro. Use this technique. Alright. So, in closing, there's another last shot of our super simple pedal board. Here's a shot of my buddy's that he made using the same technique, and here's a shot of mine. You might notice the power supply is underneath. I just shimmed the board with a couple of pieces of 2x4 that I cut, and then strapped the power supply to the bottom. Yeah, so that's about it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and comment. Don't be a dick. And subscribe. Thank you very much.